Hello everyone, I'm Louisa Cooper, Director of the Gulbenkian Foundation's Sustainability Programme, and I'm really delighted to be here today to introduce our session on accelerating climate action through public participation. I'm going to say a few words about why the Gulbenkian Foundation has a particular interest in promoting more and more effective public participation, and then hand over to my colleague Sarah Peisch, who will explore this theme with three women with great insight and experience in this arena. Nora Firak from Climate Outreach, Pascal Taminio from the King Baudouin Foundation, and Mariana Mariskin from the Youth Climate Leaders Network. At the Gulbenkian Foundation, we have a strategic focus on equity and sustainability across all our activities, including our international grant-making programs and our cultural institutions. We believe equity and sustainability are two sides of the same coin, and a more sustainable society is a more equitable one. We know that climate change is the most urgent and cross-cutting challenge of our time, but that action isn't happening at the pace or scale required, and approaches are often siloed. We also know from the IPCC that an engaged public could reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 40 to 70% by 2050. Or, as the International Energy Agency has said, net zero can't be achieved without the active and willing participation of citizens. And that when people are engaged, governments, organisations and institutions working to achieve a greener, fairer society see a stronger social mandate or support for this change. But often, despite best efforts, environmental and scientific communications aren't very good at reaching audiences beyond the bubble of people who are already involved in climate action. And that although people are aware, and the polls show that they are very supportive, increasingly debates on solutions are polarised. Climate is often pitted against the economy, against livelihoods and lifestyles, and this threatens public support and policy consensus. We also see a trend of climate doom stories, and evidence suggests that this is counter-effective. When people feel scared and hopeless, they can't see how they can contribute to positive change. We need to tell new, hopeful stories and engage all society on the climate transition. So, our sustainability grant-making programme focuses on what we've called effective engagement for climate and ocean action. Because we recognise that for climate action to be fast and fair, we need to engage broad sections of the public, including those most affected. We invest in effective engagement because we know it can build long-term public support for government action, shift social norms, and embed a sense of agency and hope. Our programme also recognises that our environmental challenges are connected. Climate and biodiversity are interlinked, and in that, the role of ocean protection is often overlooked. And most importantly, we believe that people must be at the heart of positive change. So, before I hand over to Sarah, I wanted to mention very, very briefly two initiatives that reflect our work and approach, one focused in Portugal and the other global. The first is the Transition Point pilot, and I think you should find copies of this either in English or in Portuguese on your seat. This is a mobile one-stop shop developed to bring advice on alleviating energy poverty into the very heart of local communities. The project was the result of a great collaboration between the City Council, the local energy agency, the network of regional energy agencies, local NGOs, the University FCT Nova and the Foundation, and showed the value of such cross-sector working. And also, among many other things, it showed the importance of location. The one-stop mobile shop was placed in busy shopping centres or squares where people actually go. And also the importance of trusted messengers, which I think you might hear more about in the discussion. And these were local people who were trained as energy advisors to go into people's homes. A summary of the project and key recommendations is available in the publication that you have. And I encourage you to take a copy, it's very light. The second project I wanted to very briefly mention is this one, which is the Gulbenkian Prize for Humanity. And this highlights positive change happening and celebrates people taking action globally. This year's edition highlighted the work happening across the globe, pioneered by individuals who are engaging their communities in ecosystem restoration efforts. The reason I wanted to mention it is that nominations for the 5th edition, the 2024 edition, are now open, so please have a look. And if you want to know more, please ask me or Sarah or other colleagues, or even better, come to the session here at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, which will be focused on the prize and the winners. So on that note, I will hand over to Sarah. Thank you.
This one is working. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's group work, teamwork. So thank you, Louisa, and good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank you first for being our guest here today. And I would start by you, Nora. So climate outreach helps organizations engage with diverse audiences. Audiences that are beyond what we call the green bubble. So they help us engage these audiences with climate change through research and practical guidance. Can you tell us more about this work?
I think this one works, right? Yeah. Thank you for having me. At Climate Outreach, can you hear me? Yeah? At Climate Outreach, we believe that climate change affects us all. It doesn't have borders, it doesn't discriminate within class, race, or geographical locations. But there are areas where people are more impacted by climate change because of the ecological or economy that exists there. So we believe that to solve climate change, we need everybody to be part of the conversation, and that's why we focus on going beyond the green bubble. In the UK context in our work, we try to understand what people are thinking and feeling when we talk about climate change. Are they concerned? Do they feel anything? Are they motivated to do any action? And what we learned is actually 4 out of 5 people in the UK are concerned about climate change, but we just don't know that because we're not talking about it. So we tried to understand what are the motivations and drivers behind their concern level, and what's stopping them from changing their concern into action, doing something about it. So we found that with our collaboration with More in Common, that the British population is segmented into 7 different parts. All segments care about climate. Why they care, how they care, when they care varies from one segment to segment. And what motivates them to engage with the conversation and what action to take is very much driven by their understanding of the world itself, their experiences, and also their core beliefs model. So, for example, we've got segments that will really engage with the conversations and be inspired to take action if we speak about future generation, and if we speak about, my apologies, that is one thing that is common across all the segments. Caring about future generations, saving the world for our children and grandchildren, And another thing that we really spotted around through this research is that people care about being fair. If we speak about climate justice, not everybody will relate to it, because when we speak about justice, it really varies from where you're from, what your experiences are. But if we speak about being fair, people really want to engage and want to be fair. So what we are doing is learning about these things, understanding people, listening to people, and developing language and framing and narratives that will help other organizations and ourselves really catalyze a conversation. Quite often we tend to think about climate change, and when we think about involving people, that we're doing something to them, people need to change their behaviors. But instead what we are saying is people are not the problem, people are the solution. But unless we really speak to them about it, we're not going to hear about it. When we talk about energy crisis, we all know it's something that really divides us. There is political polarization when it comes to energy transition. But if we speak about energy transition in the context of having well-being, sort of, clean air to breathe, better working and well-being and sort of, environments, people really engage with it. So healthy living, energy transition is really something people care about again. So that's how we involve other people, and we help organizations that engage with different parts of the societies, from sports organization to community organization, providing toolkits. Yeah.
Thank you, Nora. It's a fascinating approach. So I would go now to Pascal and ask you about this project that you've been working on the last few years called Fair Energy for All. So it's the FETA project. Can you tell us more about this project and what you have achieved?
Thank you very much, and thank you really for the invitation to contribute to this conversation. Indeed, I'm really pleased to share what we've learned through our project entitled Fair Energy Transition for All, nicknamed FETA. And via this project, we gave the voice to more than 1,000 vulnerable, hard to reach, financially challenged, unheard, non-represented citizens throughout 9 European countries, and we put them at the forefront of policy development with regards to energy transition. Why did we do that? Because every voice matters, as Noha just pointed out. When we look at climate change, as Louisa outlined in her introduction, energy transition is there, it's necessary, it's absolutely crucial, but pace has to be increased. It needs to be accelerated if we want to meet the target. However, people who are living in financial difficulties are probably mostly affected by climate change. And just to underline that at European level, so it's an average, it's 1 out of 5 people who are living at risk of poverty or social exclusion. So they are the ones that are probably mostly affected by the issue, by climate change, but they are also the ones who probably lack the resources to be able to adapt their living conditions and the way they are consuming energy, for example, and consuming food. So they lack the agency to be able to contribute to energy transition. Furthermore, if we don't pay attention, policies that we are developing and putting in place for energy transition, they might request more effort and sacrifices from the people who are already financially challenged. And then it will create polarization between different groups and profiles within our societies. It will put democracy at risk, but also the efforts that we are currently doing to curb the climate change. And then I agree with Nora, if we look at their participation into the media, into the public debate, into policy development, they are also invisible, they aren't heard. Although they can be part of the solution, they might be seen as passive victim of energy transition or even a barrier to energy transition, although and where they could be really actors and partners to the transition. So we've discovered they are facing different types of inequalities. Inequalities with regards to the issue itself, climate change. Inequalities with regards to agency and their ability to contribute to the solution. Inequality with regards to democracy and their ability to be heard and to contribute to policy development. And then also inequalities with regards to potential policies and measures that might require higher sacrifices from them. And this is why we really decided to engage together with a consortium of 6 foundations and together with Climate Outreach, who was really a key partner of the story. We decided to go to those people, to meet with them, and we engage with them in dialogues. We met where they were, in rural areas, in cities, and we met with 1,000 vulnerable citizens that you don't see and that you don't hear in those debates. We really wanted to collect their voices, to understand their fears, their hopes, their expectations, their very good ideas, and these to inspire the development of policy recommendations that really make the link between social justice and energy transition. But also, and furthermore, and that's the final ultimate objective of the project, is really to inspire policymakers to develop fairer energy transition policies. The philosophy of the project was really to put the people at the heart of the project and the process from start to finish. I think that was really a key challenge, but also a unique approach in this specific project, because every voice matters. Everyone is concerned. Everybody is concerned, so everybody should be heard. So that's one. And also we went where they are, and I'll have maybe the opportunity to explain a little bit in more detail how we've done it. But in a nutshell, this is what we've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Pascal. And now, Mariana. So, Youth Climate Leaders is a global network with members from many countries. And you help young people deal with a very uncertain future. On the one side, we have climate change, which is a major challenge, while also younger people are facing systemic unemployment. So how do you address these issues?
Thank you for having me. The Youth Climate Leaders was created in Brazil in 2018, and we are in Portugal since 2021. And exactly what Sarah was saying, we created this association to tackle these 2 biggest problems that we are facing now, and not the future, it's now we are facing. And basically we work based in 3 pillars: education, network on climate action, and connecting opportunities. So our main goal in our association is to provide scientific knowledge about climate and expertise in every topic related that. All the topics are related on climate change, but and sustainability and social impact to try to fix these problems in our society and communities that we are facing. So we offer a main course that lasts 14 hours during 3 months, less or more, and covering politics, economic, biodiversity, communication, and many other topics related to climate change. Additionally, we provide side classes, because it's not, we can't just teach the big problems without teaching how we can work on that. So we develop some side classes to prepare and enhance the curriculum, personal and professional development, and mentorship to prepare participants to starting as soon as possible their professional on climate.
So all of this is connected through a platform similar to LinkedIn, but is exclusive to climate careers. And we connect these participants with the employers that need the task force that we don't have professionalized yet. So in the other side, we organize numerous events to empower youth participation in climate crisis subjects to transform them into climate leaders in their communities. So this helps them to create a network of young people to support each other in their mobilizations and make spaces more sustainable and adapted to live in. And finally, we will also produce a lot of contents in our network and social medias about climate and about careers and to empowerment the youth to take their spaces and occupy their spaces in our society. And we will keep talking later about these projects.
Okay, so keeping the conversation going, I would ask Nora now to connect with our with the title of our conversation today. What do you understand by the term public participation or public engagement, which you talk a lot about, and why do you think it is important for accelerating climate action?
Thank you. Public engagement requires political leadership and is I would say, the mechanism or the way governments and policymakers and stakeholders speak to people, specifically to those that are mostly affected by climate change itself and by the rapid transition we need. So what we want to see is governments having conversations, a two-way dialogue, whether it's through citizens' assemblies or whether it's through MP surgeries within their local constituents, understanding what does a fair energy transition look like by those who are struggling to afford energy prices at the moment, and really understand why there is the inertia. So we hear a lot about people opposing government policies, therefore there's a lot of commitment that gets made at places like this at COP, but when it comes to implementation in the national context, we are really falling behind. And the reason is because there is a huge gap between international ambition level and political ambition level and the political and social mandate the governments have. So it's really about governments listening to the needs of the people and understanding how we can work together to find the solutions together. Scotland is a really good example of where they had a public engagement strategy and engaged with 100 citizens. And as a result, policies were adopted. But whereas in other parts of Europe where public engagement hasn't necessarily happened, we are seeing quite a lot of opposition for reducing speed limits and things like that, and towards the green energy transition. And it's really, are you really opposed to the transition, or is there something that's really affecting you? And it's the leadership and how a society has that conversation and surfaces these issues that affects us all as humans. Yeah, for us, that's really public engagement. And how it accelerates is, it helps to solve the problems and come up with solutions faster. By engaging and having that dialogue at national and international level, you're reducing almost like the inertia that exists. So rapid transformation really needs public engagement. We can speak, there is a sort of a national context and an international context where public participation is really at the heart of Paris Agreement itself. Perhaps we can talk about it a little bit later if we have time. Yeah.
So I would go on to Pascal and back to your project, Fair Energy for All. What did the project reveal about different methodologies and approaches to public participation? And I would also ask if they would vary depending on the country or on the context. So what did you learn by it?
Thank you, Sarah. I first would like to underline what Noha said, and I think really in times where governments are really facing deep mistrust, in particular with regards to energy transition and climate change, engaging with people that are left behind or feel they are left behind is really important to be able to find solutions together. And this is what I mean by public participation or public engagement is really the many ways, and there are many ways to do this, of bringing together decision makers and citizens together to develop together solutions to critical issues that are impacting everyone. And energy transition and climate change is really an issue meeting those criteria. There are many ways to do it. With FETA, we chose one methodology, one way to approach the problem and the issue, and you can do it for different ambitions. You could either collect the information and share information between government and citizens. You could work together to find solutions, or you could even evaluate together policies or measures that are already implemented. You have different levels of ambitions and then ways of working. This said, via FETA, we decided, so the Fair Energy Transition for All project, we decided to work via focus groups and to go where those people are. That was the challenge, but I think that was the unique element of the approach. Because if you want to reach out to the people that you don't see, that are not represented via representative organization, you need to be very creative, and it takes time. I'm not really sure that it goes faster from what I have experienced, but it's really reached. But it takes time. And how we did it, we worked via 100 focus groups in 9 countries, and we worked via local organizations that have a regular contact with the target group. And I would say target groups because we've met with a diversity of profiles at national level. And so we worked via local organizations, might they be social restaurants, social welfare organizations, language courses, educations, leisure groups, who are in contact on a very regular basis with those people. And via them, via this huge network of local organizations in those 9 countries, we've been able to get in touch with those people. And as Nora said, yes, indeed, 82% of the people we've met have told us they've never been engaged in such a process. So it shows really the necessity really to give them a voice, and in particular on this topic. This is absolutely crucial, again, if you want to have the wide support to make things happen. And it's about what we call inclusive transition. So we worked via focus group, we engaged with those people to collect their ideas, their fears, their perceptions, with a dedicated approach that we developed together with climate outreach. You can't start by talking about, energy transition policies. No, you have to start from their daily life, their daily concerns, what they mean about fairness, what do they believe is fair in their day-to-day life, and then from there you can start building. We've created a unique tool, the Energy Diaries, so we could talk about potential futures with them, translated into one day, so that they could relate to their, their daily conditions and discuss about potential futures. So we collected a huge amount of information, which then fed into discussions with experts in those different countries. So we've met with 150 experts, and based on their own experience, but also on the voices of those people we had met, they proposed some recommendations at national level, but also at EU level. And usually, the participatory processes stop there. You collect the voice, you collect the information, and then experts deliver recommendations. But we didn't. We really wanted to keep the people at the heart of the process from the beginning until the end. So we went back to the people who had participated to the project at the beginning to make sure to see, to understand whether the proposals developed by the experts really met their concerns. So they had the opportunity at country level to discuss about those recommendations, to validate them, to fine-tune, to change, and to finalize them. And then they handed over those recommendations to us and to our partners, and then that was our role, like today, to advocate what they had given to us, like we did today, and like we are doing at national level. So we didn't use different approaches from one country to another, no. We developed, and I think this is also a success factor, or at least a key learning of the project. There is no magic recipe. There is no single recipe really to gather the voice of the people. It's really important to amplify their voices. There are many ways to do it, but still there are some key learnings and a solid methodology, a solid and tested methodology with a lot of creativity, because here we had a specific target groups, the ones that you don't see and that you don't read. So how do you find them and how do you engage with them? So we had to be very creative. But then all our partners, we had 20 partners in all those countries, because you need to understand the local context, the local language. We worked in very different countries at European level, so we need local partners who have the contact with the local organization I was talking about, who understand the language and who understand the policy context. And so that was also another important element, but they were trained to use the same approach with some flexibility, because Belgium is not Poland, it's not Spain, so sometimes you can organize something at a central place, which was easier in Belgium because we are a smaller country, impossible to do in Spain, for example. In Romania, they had to go and knock on the door of the people, so voilà. But at least they used the same type of approach, and they were trained and coached to gather the same type of information. So this is how we did it. All the results, I'm not going to go through the results country by country, but based on that, we developed a national report by country, but there is also an overall report trying to analyze the differences and the commonalities between all the learning we've gathered. There are also recommendations at European level. And finally, we believe that we've learned so much that we have compiled what we've learned into what we've called a method guide. Voilà, what's in the name? There is no recipe. It's meant to be improved all the time, but it's there. It's really offered to organizations who want to maybe do and test and implement, but at least who wants to reach out to the people that you don't hear and that you don't see. Might it be on energy transition or any other types of issues? And we've got a website where you can find all the information, fairenergytransition.eu. Thank you.
So building up on this, the idea of public participation, and I would like also to know what you think about it. And I would put you this question, Mariana. What do you think fails when you think about younger generations? What do you think is failing about public engagement and in the public participation area? And what solutions do you think we can adopt to overcome it?
I think it's the worst thing happen is that the young people are never being taken in consideration. As too much long time ago, and since all the time we never being taken in consideration, and this provokes something that I feel is as as much I don't have anyone to trust in my opinion and my knowledge or in my capability to work on and be a decision maker, I don't want to do anymore. So I tried, and somehow I will give up because no one listens us. So I think when some young person feel that being listened and being considerated, oh, okay, I am listening you, what you need, what your opposition about this or this thing. So now I can participate and be here as a potential participant of society. So and I've been seeing this all the time in all the places in all the countries that I've been with the youth climate leaders, and it's the same thing, nothing, but it's the same bad thing that you feel like. Never one wants to listen us. This is the worst, and happens with the poor people, with the marginalization people, as you were saying. So it's the same. This is the problem. So, but we don't have, we can't say that we can do simple solutions to big problems. So I will not bring here some simple solution because we don't have. We need to fix this together and with difficult solutions as we are. But I have an example. That is the LCOIS, the local conference of youth. That I don't know if everyone knows what is local conference of youth, but we are in this year was the 18th LCOI, 18 years we have, and in Portugal, for example, we have just 2, last year and this year. So, okay. So LCOI is a conference organized by IANGO, is an official network that constitutes the UNFCCC, and happen every year. We organize it this year in Portugal and the other. It's like a platform to youth can discuss climate change and its impacts on their cities and regions where they live, and offering a really opportunity to the young can actively collaborate with international climate conferences as this conference as we are. So the LCOI happens immediately before the COI, that is the Global Conference of Youth. So in Portugal, we take places, when we take place like September, I think there is some person here that will be part with us. We discuss about our problematic situations in Portugal, the frustrations that you have about our transport mobility, and I think I was just searching here. Sorry, because as you see, my English is not the best. It's not my first language, but I think when we increase these spaces, we are not just to listen, but we are considerating, and we are putting the responsibility to young to do the things together. So this and this last LCOI, I could see, I could observe it, that all the young that were there was very much interested to collaborating for a solution and to create other ways to live in our different economic ways. So when we build this kind of projects, the youth's voice and the voice of big decisors can work together, opening opportunities for hope, equality, and promote the effective transformation that englobes our society, all of our society, not just a side or some of parts. So I think we look for the youth as some part of society that doesn't know too much what they want, but we know, and I know more than 100, more than 1,000 young people that are making decisions, that are make the difference in their governments and their places and their communities. So we really need stop to think that the decisions just can made by the governments or the city leaders. No, we need to include. So I think this is the biggest challenge that we are facing now. Maybe.
May I jump on what Mariana just said? May I? Okay, thank you. No, absolutely. It might be an anecdote for all of you, but it's not for me. This is how the FETA project was born. My children, I have 4 children, and they were in the street 3 years ago demonstrating for climate. And they came back home at dinner and they said, they are not listening to us, really. We all be dead in 20 years and it's all done. And I was really shocked, really, really, really shocked. And I said, no, if we have to do something. And we started brainstorming about what could we do, and this is how we sketches the architecture of the project. So I completely agree with you. They are part of the solution too, and we need to listen to them. And it's always nice to keep on reminding where it comes from. Just another example, in my foundation, we did a recent exercise. It was, I think, published 2 weeks ago. We gave the voice to 1,000 young people in Belgium about the future of nuclear waste, a key issue in our country. Policy has to be developed about solution and where and why and who should pay. And we worked via schools, and we involved directly young people into the policy development. And I think this is the beauty of organizations like ours, foundations. We can really provide, with the appropriate expertise around the table, of course, we can really provide the safe spaces where those people could meet, could be heard, translations, feeling really safe, making sure all the logistics, but also the credibility and the legitimacy of the messages, of the recommendation. We can really support the advocacy, and I think this is really where foundations could really play a role on that. So this is what I wanted to add, sorry.
So before opening up to the audience, if there are any questions, I would just like to ask one more thing here to Nora, which is about something that Climate Reach has been championing, the Action for Climate Empowerment, the ACEE. And I would like to ask you to explain what that is and how is it important for the public participation agenda.
Thank you for explaining the acronym. I think I've been at COP for too long now, starting to speak in acronyms. Paris Agreement, Article 12, sets out an obligation on parties to the agreement that parties need to cooperate, inform citizens, engage with citizens, educate citizens, and there are 6 different categories that is spelled out. And Climate Outreach has worked with legal experts, and we've established that is an obligation like any other article in the Paris Agreement. Now, how much that becomes local law depends on how much it is enshrined within that local governance itself. But nevertheless, ACE is often seen as an obligation because it appears in the Paris Agreement. But if we really take a moment to think about it, actually, it's not an obligation, it's an opportunity. Especially when we are finishing the global stocktake process, after 2 years of taking stock and inventory of what have we done and what have we achieved, before the end of the process, we already know we haven't done as good as we should have. We are far behind where we need to be. And action for climate empowerment has not been prioritized for understandable reasons. But I think there's a real opportunity at this COP to say, if we need to actually talk about this and we need to look at ACE as an opportunity rather than an obligation, and it provides a framework and a guide and a workbook and everything to engage with people from all parts of society through various different models, methods, from research, from participatory research, from citizens' assemblies, from online groups, TikTok, young people, is limitless. It's as much as we can imagine. And in an age of information, disinformation and misinformation, polarization is on so much rise. Why are we ignoring it? And I did get some positive news today from the negotiation floor that SPI working groups, that is subsidiary body implementation. I'm saying it right, the acronyms, right? Raya's nodding, yeah, subsidiary body implementation. They are prioritizing finance and ACE, climate action for empowerment is a priority. So I would really like to call all global leaders, especially countries that are contributing most to climate change, who are also making ambitious pledges and really not being able to deliver, that take a moment, breathe, listen to your community, your society, and engage with them, have those conversations, and understand why is there a gap between ambition and implementation, and look at FETA project and work through ways to have those conversations. And you're right, it takes time, but it is very deep, and FETA is a European-wide project, but it's quite clear that where the countries have been able to produce that intelligence and that rich information has been able to make more progress on the energy transition compared to those countries that haven't been able to provide that deep, rich understanding. I like to call it understanding of people, listening to people. So yeah, that's what I would really like to call on at this moment, and that's what ACE is. Thank you.
So I don't know if anyone would like to put a question. Yes. We will share the mic.
Hello, thank you so much for your contributions to this panel. I heard you talking about these initiatives where young people like me have the opportunity to create some deliverables for the policymakers, for example. And I know that these spaces, for example, in Portugal, they happen, people are engaging, but then there is also places where, like citizen assemblies, where young people don't go. Young people don't feel that they are being heard. So how can we fulfill this gap of places where young people are actually creating deliverables for policymakers, but then they don't actually go through it, and the places where the policymakers have to listen people, but citizens are not going there. So what can we do to fulfill this gap and have more engaging people with the policymakers? Thank you.
Thank you. I would start by saying the obligation to make that happen is not necessarily on young people, as much as I appreciate young people calling for it. And I would say the same for different groups of society members as well. What we need to see is political leadership where we want to see political leadership caring about young people, caring about different parts of society. And I think in terms of to drive the engagement level up, not that I'm claiming young people engagement level is low at all. I think it's a framing and a narrative question. I think we need to change the narrative of, all doom and gloom to more positive, hopeful, we can do this. Why would you come to a meeting to discuss about the end of the world and if you're already told it's the end? Like, why would you go? I would run away. I definitely would not want to go. So I think we need to change the message of hope. And actually the very first panel discussion on COP28 this year, for me, one of the fellow panelists reminded me that in 2015, Paris Agreement was actually reached because Christiana Figueres championed hope, because Paris Agreement was born out of hope and saying we can do it out of positive narratives. And in our work and in our research, everywhere we've looked, the most engaging and where innovation and ideas and everything comes from, when you have that energy of we can do it, let's get things done, not when we say it can't be done. So there's an element of political leadership, again, we need when it comes to public engagement, involving and informing and inspiring people to be part of it. So I think that's the gap, and that's why we're here today. And I just want to say once again, thank you for all the hard labor that young people do.
Yeah, I completely agree with Nora and what she said. There is a gap, absolutely, which needs to be filled. You might say, we reach always the same type of profile via citizens panels, for example, and so on. The usual suspects or the already convinced people or the ones who want to move. This is why we launched the FETA project. And from what I've learned, what I would recommend is really to go where they are, to really go to them, where they feel safe, to places that they like, that they enjoy, and start engaging with them. Because yes, then indeed you'll find very interesting information. At least the people we've met, including young people, but also elderly, they are not hostile to energy transition. They want to do their bits, but I absolutely agree. They need to be coached. They are asking for more clear information. There is a huge amount of information, support available, but they don't find their way through this huge amount of information. So an idea like the one-stop shop for energy poverty, like the one you created, this is really something they're asking for. And there is again a huge opportunity for social cohesion, for example. This is what we discovered through the FETA project. They are inclined, they want to contribute to energy transition, but they don't talk about energy transition as such, no climate change. They want projects like local energy communities, share systems through which they can participate and build trust and social cohesion among society. So go to them and engage with them. That would be my message.
So I totally agree with the other two perspectives, but I disagree a little bit on this sentence about go until them, because, for example, here we are all privileged people, and I can go to the municipality now and talk to them because we are here. But the most part of the people who we want to reach can't. So we are doing the best as we can since a long time ago, and now I think is the time that who already have this privilege, because I am privileged, I need to do more, and all of us are privileged. We need to do more too. So I think who haven't this occupation, okay, you are doing your best too. We have mainly in Europe, mainly in the United States, we already have the privilege in the most part of situations. So I think we need to try to don't put this responsibility to go more, to find them, because it's very difficult to us to do this. Even we are privileged. So who is not? I think it's worse. So I totally agree that you need to find these ways. And I forgot to tell before that this participation in ELICOI that we have in all countries before the COP is a way to send a letter to this governments and leaders. So we write some letter representing our community and put this together in other letters, and after we make a communication and a declaration. It's a global youth declaration that happened last week here in Dubai, in COI. So this is some way to find and reach these decision makers, these big decision makers. But I don't like the way put this pressure a lot, because and I know that you don't do this but we need just to take a little bit this change of narrative that you were saying. Because it's not this narrative, it's not us that needs to find and run to talk to our governments. It's our governments that needs to come to us and listen us and do the things to us as we need to build our society. So we are doing our best, and I'm really sure that the most part of governments are doing their best too. But they need to do a little bit more and more effective, more directionally directioned to these people that really need to improve their. So, and by education. So we need to keep find education and invest in careers, good job, good schools, and no formal educations too. So I think it's a mix and combined this. I think.
So I have this ungrateful role of accelerating people. There's another question. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, very quickly.
Hi, yeah, brilliant panel. I was just going to ask, the sort of insight that is generated from each of the projects, like from climate outreach to FETA to also COI that you were talking about, that kind of wisdom of everybody that we're not usually talking to. And then you talked about political leadership. How do we deliver the kind of space and the kind of popular support that allows for that political leadership on the amazing insights that you all have?
Again, from our side, no magic recipe. What we did with the FETA project, we engaged with them. Is it working? We engage with stakeholders, policymakers, as from the start of the project, even when we had just the idea, not even the architecture of the project, to see, will it make a difference? Would you wait, for 3 years if we come back to you with the results of the project? And they said absolutely yes. Even faster than we expected once we had the results of the focus group. So right in the middle of the project, it raised so much interest that we immediately had the opportunity to organize an EU event with EU policymakers, people in charge of the EU barometer would ask us for an additional question based on FETA. So it really raised amazing interest. So that's one, by engaging with them right from the start, and to see whether we could relate and link to existing policy agendas, of course, this at EU level and at national level as well. And then what they told us, dicto from a policymaker that discovered the power of the quotes. We used a lot of, quotes, testimonies, videos from people, if they agree and when they agree to contribute. And that really helps support, building the argument, the discussions with policymakers. This is how we did it, and well, apparently we keep on doing it. It's not the end, of course, but this is how we did it.
This could go on forever, but I'll try to be brief. I think I'll first offer a very personal answer. I grew up in the Maldives. It's one of the front lines of climate change. And I would say my generation's trajectory, future, just changed so much that I ran away. It gave me a lot of anxiety, affected my mental health. It really had a serious impact, and it changes a country's national psyche, and it creates all other kinds of social issues, affects our security, and we are a country that really pays majority of our income on climate mitigation and adaptation. But yet, I'm a very privileged person from my own society. And I'm here today, and I often feel in the climate world that I'm the less privileged person in the room. Is changing, but I often do. And we don't have enough lived experience in the space. If I really have to put it bluntly, it's a very elitist, privileged world. And to really have genuine conversation around engagement at a rapid rate and to listen, we need political leadership to step up and change that system that exists within the movement itself. So I think we need to start first questioning our assumptions and where we are coming from, and what we understand is the barriers for that. And the second thing I would say is, and this is why I'm sure the wisdom that existed at COP in 2015 put Article 12 in the Paris Agreement in the first place. It is a mechanism and it's an opportunity to change that. And we have ignored it for far too long. And what I was going to say earlier is, yes, it takes a long time and it's very deep and it's rich, but we don't have time not to take the time. That's the reality. So, and another point what I want to say on citizen assemblies and different models of public engagement, and I had to look this up because it's an acronym, it's a short form I remember, NOCA, which is a European network for sharing best practice on the design and implementation of climate assemblies. And it was a really big, major collaboration, very much similar like to FETA, and we played a part in it as well. And through that, we also learned that there is no magic citizens' assembly rule book or method for the entire world. Success of countries varies very greatly. I would recommend looking up the citizens' assembly journeys of Austria, France, Scotland, and UK as sort of, test cases. So everybody needs to have this conversation together. I don't know what other person needs. And we need to really understand and listen. My perspective comes from my experience, really.
To close this conversation, you already touched this point, Nora, but I would like to know in 30 seconds, if you are able to do it, what is more exciting to you about this COP28?
I think it's precisely this opportunity that you have to have a meeting, a conversation with all of the stakeholders in our society and our government, and our city leaders. So I've been talking to so many people that can hear me and can have a little discussion and okay, what is better, what's not so better. So I think this is the best part for me because I'm here for that. But following the negotiations, it's good too. But for me, it's this opportunity to be in these spaces, occupy these spaces. It's my first copy, so I am excited about that. And share these perspectives with with people that have other perspectives than me and other countries. And this is the most exciting thing that I'm feeling being here.
I completely agree with Mariana. Sharing, meeting people, sharing different insights, it's very rich. And from the FETA project, I'm very honored to be able to bring in the voice of the people we've met. I mean, we've never dreamt about it. I mean, it's just huge. So this is such a great opportunity.
Thank you very much for being here with us today. And now, back to you, Luisa. You're wrapping up this session, and you have a special announcement for the Portuguese public participation ecosystem. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. I've got two things to say. The first, as Sarah trailed, is that we are launching, the Gulbenkian Foundation tomorrow is launching a new open funding call in Portugal for public participation projects for NGOs or municipalities, or ideally NGOs and municipalities working together. All the details will be on the website tomorrow. So please, if you're in Portugal and interested in experimenting, testing, reaching different audiences, do have a look. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is more obvious, but very much deserved. Thank you to our speakers. It was a really kind of great conversation. Thank you to Sarah and other colleagues, and especially thank you to the Ministry for inviting us.
Mas aconteceram muitas coisas boas. E com dificuldade em conectar-me com as pessoas. Eu devia ter mais ou menos 6 anos, quando vi o mapa pela primeira vez. Lembro-me de não saber. Como eu cresci. Aconteceram muitas coisas más, mas aconteceram muitas coisas boas. E com dificuldade em conectar-me com as pessoas. Eu devia ter mais ou menos 6 anos, quando vi o mapa pela primeira vez. Lembro-me de não saber nadar, mas querer imenso ir para o mar. Aprendi a desafiar-me mais e a não ter medo do desafio e do desconhecido. Eu acho que quando as pessoas pensam em viver numa casa de acolhimento, pensam que é tudo um pesadelo, mas a verdade é que eu tenho o mesmo que toda a gente tem. Isso para mim é um privilégio.
Sou psicóloga clínica. Então, as crianças e jovens com quem nós trabalhamos, muitas delas, vêm ter connosco muito desligadas, muito desconectadas de si mesmas, das pessoas que as rodeiam, e trazem uma bagagem que é invisível, mas que é muito pesada. Achei que as intervenções mais tradicionais eram claramente insuficientes. Percebi que havia aqui uma força muito grande em juntar estas duas áreas, a intervenção em saúde mental e uma intervenção no mar e através do surf. Eu acho que no mar tu descobres-te. Não percebi bem que era uma forma de terapia logo à primeira.
Mas é completamente diferente e não tens aquela pressão de estar sentada à frente de um psicólogo mesmo, na sala. E então agora vamos falar sobre isto, não é mais natural.
Eu acho que eles me ajudaram imenso a ver o mundo de outra maneira. Eu acho que fico com um autoconhecimento enorme sempre que vou ao mar. Penso, ok, uau, vieste até aqui, até agora, de certeza que consegues continuar.
The ocean is the heart of the climate system. The ocean has done an incredible job of absorbing all of this excess heat, but it can only do it for so long. When we sit down and we drink our cup of coffee, we turn on the tap, we have our shower, whatever we do with water, that's been the same water that has been around for thousands, millions and billions of years. This means that looking after that body of water and recognising it is just one resource, one finite resource, is particularly important. Our ocean is becoming warmer, it's becoming more acidic, so we now see areas that are dead zones where nothing can survive. In the 1950s, the River Thames was biologically dead. In fact, I wouldn't be wanting to stand this close to it. It would be stinking and full of pollution. But fortunately now, it's a vibrant, recovering river full of fish and other wildlife. Of course, there's still more to do, but it's a story of recovery and hope.
E assusta-me imenso
pessoas não percebem o mal que estão a fazer a si próprios e ao planeta, à nossa casa, basicamente. Cuidares do mar e cuidares do teu planeta é exatamente a mesma coisa de cuidares de ti.
We're here where the river meets the sea. Unfortunately, seagrasses have practically been wiped out from this area. They're critically important for all sorts of things, from capturing carbon, from stabilising the sediment, and yet they've been lost. So what the scientists are doing today is the first assessments so we can look at a restoration project and bringing the estuary back to life.
It's a group of volunteers that get together to do this, and I think it gives everybody a better connection with their local environment. It gets more people to realise that this facility is on their doorstep, and it's, it gives you some exercise as well. It doesn't cost anything to volunteer, it's just your time and a bit more understanding of the climate emergency, but it'll do you some good.
Research has found that blue spaces are really good for our health and well-being. They make a huge difference to our mental health, to relaxation, to dealing with anxiety and other issues.
Something about water takes away some of the woes of the day. I think water has a calming effect on people.
O mar é de todos e está ligado a tudo. Porque lá está, isto é a nossa casa, que lá está o mar ensina-nos muito. Ensina-me mais confiança e resiliência, que não posso só desistir porque caí na onda, tenho que continuar a tentar e isso eu posso levar para a vida.
Aquilo que eles sentem que o mar os ajudou a fazer e a transformar, nós também temos que fazer isso pelo oceano, temos que fazer a nossa parte.
It's really important that everyone has a connection to the ocean, whether you're living in an urban environment like in central London, or whether you're living by the sea. That connection is not only good for our own well-being, but it's critically important to look after that environment and make sure it's there for our children or our children's children.